Hello, everybody. My name is Corey Stegall, and today we will be talking about what Stoicism is. So, what is Stoicism? Well, let's go through. It's an ancient philosophy, for one. It was founded in 300 BC by Zeno of Citium. It was based on both Cynic, Socratic, and other ideas that he had picked up while in Athens. It lasted for about 500 years in antiquity. Started with Zeno in 300, and the last notable Stoic of the ancient world was Marcus Aurelius. But we are seeing a modern day resurgence. We're seeing a lot more people become interested in Stoicism. I think part of that is because we're all looking for something to help us. It seems like a lot of people are in a bad way and they're looking for something that can help them, and they feel Stoicism is it, and I'm one of those people. So, Stoicism was founded around the year 300 BC when a purple dye merchant by the name of Zeno shipwrecked off the coast of Athens. Now, the details of his arrival are a little murky. Some historians say that he had a place here or in Athens. He actually was rich. He didn't shipwreck. He didn't lose everything. Honestly, the main story, everyone, or at least in the Stoic circles, is that he shipwrecked in Athens. I think at the end of the day, what came of it is more important than how it came to be. Uh, so he would wind up going to a bookstore and picking up a copy of Xenophon's Memorabilia, a dialogue written by Xenophon about his mentor and close friend Socrates. Zeno would ask the shopkeeper, "Hey, where can I find men like the ones in this book?" And it just so happened that Crates the cynic was walking by, so the shopkeeper pointed to him and said, "There you go." And so Zeno would study under Crates for a while, and then eventually would branch off to create Stoicism. Okay, the Stoic Garden. So, what is the Stoic Garden? Not an actual garden, though gardens do seem to play a pivotal role in some of the ancient Stoics. They believe that gardens were really good tools. Um, it's a symbol for the three separate but interconnected parts of Stoicism: your logic, your physics, and your ethics. The ancients believed that these three were inseparable. You weren't walking the true Stoic path unless you were, mastering all three. Now, many modern Stoics, they've chosen to keep the logical and ethical doctrines, but get rid of the physics or metaphysics. As in this day and age, we have a lot of atheists, and they have this idea that to talk about the universe in a certain way or to imply that there might be something that created everything gets them a little riled up. Now, I will have another video about breaking down those three sections of Stoicism a little bit better. This is just kind of a quick fly through to figure out what all it is. You don't, again, I personally believe that you should practice all three of them, or at least understand all three of them. But what is the Stoic Garden? So the Stoic Garden is it's an analogy that the Stoics use to help people understand the makeup of everything. So logic is the outer perimeter. It's the gate that keeps all the animals and everything out of your garden. And then physics makes up the soil. It's what feeds the plants in our garden. It's what gives them life. And then you come down to the ethics, which is the fruit of our labor. We master the other two so that we can master ethics, so that we can be better people. That's the fruit. Those are the three things that make up the core doctrine of Stoicism. Okay, the four pillars of Stoicism. I will have the website that I found these on that gave this little summary at the very end. So stick around to see that. So, number one, you have Stoic acceptance. That's where you learn to accept the things that are outside of your control and what's in your control. So, Epictetus breaks this down in Enchiridion number one, which the quote is up. What's in your control are your actions, your thoughts, what you do. Everything else is outside of your control. That guy that ran you off the road, not in your control. That your dog got out of the house because, for whatever reason, not in your control. These are things, they're just not in your control. You don't have any control over them. And that's what Stoic acceptance is. Learning to accept that there are things that are outside of your control, which in a Stoic's point of view would be everything but what you're doing. Like what you're doing. You might be saying, "Oh no, Corey, I bust my ass every day. I do the work. I do the work every day." And you know what? That's commendable. You're doing your job, but you cannot control the outcome of all that ass busting you're doing. You busting your butt. You're doing everything you're supposed to do, but that other guy might get the raise. That other person might get the promotion. You might not get it. Just because you work harder doesn't mean you're going to get it. That is what you control. Only what your actions are, your thoughts, your actions, stuff like that. You cannot control anything else. So, what is Stoic awareness? So this is built on the acceptance part. The bare bones of it is that our mind is what causes our suffering due to our judgment of events. So you need to become aware of this. You need to become aware of the fact that, you're not actually being harmed by that guy who cut you off. You're not actually being harmed by the friend who stabbed you in the back. Your mind is telling you were harmed. Take the friend stabbing you in the back as a lesson. Take everything as a lesson. Look at it all and see everything as a lesson, as an opportunity to grow, amor fati, love fate, love everything that happens to you. Now, I understand that is a lot easier said than done, but again, nothing easy is worth doing. Nothing worth doing is easy. Okay, so then we have Stoic action. What is Stoic action? So the other two focused on, our thoughts and controlling the way we think about stuff and our judgments on things. However, Stoic action is about, how you act within the real world. And the other two are useless without Stoic action. It doesn't matter if you're thinking good thoughts. It doesn't matter if you had good intentions. It only matters if you're doing the right thing. So that is what Stoic action is. It's right action. It's doing the right thing. It's, doing what is required of you, what you're obligated to do, just doing the right thing. And then last on this page, we have Stoic anti-fragility. What does that mean? Well, anti-fragility just means that we're not fragile. We're not, the idea is that we, Stoics, as Stoics, or Stoic practitioners, we work on getting out of our heads. We don't try to make things go away. We use them as driving forces, as, as fuel for the fire. As Marcus Aurelius says, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Everything you throw on the fire becomes fuel for the fire. That is anti-fragility. It's taking everything. It's, again, amor fati. It's taking everything that happens and using it as a way to advance yourself, your character, your, virtues, everything. It's a way, everything is a way for you to somehow advance yourself. Now, that being said, let's move on. So let's talk about some notable Stoics. We've already talked about Zeno. There's a video up about Zeno. And there are several other notable Stoics, and I will be making videos covering them. But for this sake, we'll talk about Diogenes of Babylon. He was the fourth head of the school, and he was responsible for bringing the philosophy to Rome in 155 BC. What happened was Athens was being held at court for something they had done. I can't remember the exact details, but Rome was basically, taking them to court, and they sent 3 philosophers to try to reduce the fine. Well, the first philosopher just kind of bumbled his way through and ended up contradicting himself and making a fool of himself. It was Diogenes who gave this brilliant speech that inspired, Romans to look at this philosophy. Matter of fact, Cato the Younger, you'll see him right below Diogenes. The only reason Cato the Younger had, well, not the only reason, but Cato the Younger had access to Stoicism because of Diogenes. So Cato's great great grandfather was at the lecture that Diogenes of Babylon was giving that day. So Diogenes was able to get the credit or the amount due by Athens down, and he was responsible for spreading Stoicism to the Roman Empire, or at that time the Roman Republic. So then we get down to Cato the Younger, Rome's Iron Man, or what's the other one? Rome's Last Citizen. So Cato the Younger was a Roman conservative politician and a Stoic philosopher. He tried to stop Julius Caesar from taking full control of the republic and destroying it. He obviously failed. He was a very stubborn, hard-headed man who had to have it his way. No ifs, ands, or buts. And, he ended up killing himself because Julius Caesar was going to parade him around as a trophy, and he said he'd rather die than do that. So he took a sword and thrust it into his abdomen, and somebody ran in, saw what had happened, and they sewed him up. Later, he came to and ripped open his wounds and, died right there. So that was him. He left a legacy. And, people in Rome used to say, we can't all be Catos. We can't all be Catos. No, but we can try. We can try to be Catos. So then we have Epictetus, a slave turned free man who would go on to found a school dedicated to Stoicism. His lectures can be found in the Discourses of the Enchiridion, whichever one you're going to go with. It's worth noting that he didn't actually write any of this down. Arrian did, one of his students. Arrian was, he was a notable man, and, they sent him to Epictetus to get some education, and he felt the need to write it down and publish it so that more people could read it. And the volumes of Epictetus, they were passed on throughout the world. Marcus Aurelius would be inspired by him. James B. Stockdale, an American war hero, shot down over Vietnam. He was, as his plane was crashing down, he said, "I am leaving the world of man and entering the world of Epictetus." Because he knew he was going to be suffering when he got shot down. I'll be doing a video about James Stockdale as well. A truly awe-inspiring story there. So then we get to the last notable Stoic of antiquity, Marcus Aurelius. Now, what can we say about Marcus Aurelius? The last of the 5 great emperors of Rome, considered by most to be the closest we're ever going to get to a philosopher king. He wrote a journal. Never wanted it to be publicized, but then it did get publicized, and now we're all reading it today. It shows a man struggling, and I've read it several times. I love it, but Marcus was a man like no other. He, when the empire was going bankrupt, what did he do? He took all of the belongings in the castle and sold them off. He sold off his wife's jewelry. He sold personal belongings before he ever touched the taxes. So we'll have a video on a lot of more Stoics and on the 4 that we've seen here. But let's move on to the next slide. So this is our Stoic book recommendations. So as far as ancient books go, and no, it's not a Stoic book, but Xenophon's Memorabilia, I feel like it's a good one because it allows you to read what Zeno read. And if you already kind of practice Stoicism or know anything about it, it'll be a good way to see what led Zeno to doing what he did. And then you got the Enchiridion by Epictetus. I recommend that to everyone. I personally, it was my introduction to Stoicism, and the easiest one for me to read in the beginning. We have Letters from a Stoic and How to Die by Seneca. Now I know we didn't talk about Seneca at all, and I'm torn on Seneca, but yeah, he's long dead, but considering all that he did, and he didn't grow up in a republic like Cato did, but I don't know. I have a hard time with Seneca, but his books are worth it. He has a lot of wisdom in there. And then we have the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This is a must-read, in my opinion, for anyone who's going to be diving into Stoicism. I think it's the foremost, piece of literature that anyone should touch if they're thinking about Stoicism. So then we have our modern books. So we have the Daily Stoic Journal, as well as the Daily Stoic, Lives of the Stoics, The Obstacle is the Way, Ego is the Enemy, and Stillness is the Key, all by Ryan Holiday. So Ryan Holiday was the first person I watched a video doing Stoicism, and I'm not going to lie, I had some issues in the beginning, especially as I started learning about the philosophy, and, just, I don't know, I felt some type of way, but then I opened my mind and my heart, and I feel a lot better about it now. How to Think Like a Roman Emperor by Donald Robertson. So, How to Think Like a Roman Emperor is a book literally all about Marcus Aurelius. Really a good read. I've read it at least twice now and listened to it 4 times. I absolutely adore it. I think it's important, an important piece of literature in this philosophy. He also has a graphic novel out if anybody wants to look at that. I've not read it yet, but he does have a graphic novel out. You can get it on Amazon. Then A Handbook for New Stoics by Massimo Pigliucci. Sorry if I butchered his name, but this book it's a guide. It's like a guided meditation type deal to help you think about these subjects and topics and real world issues on a Stoic level. And those are the books I recommend. There's hundreds more, but those are the ones I would start with. So that is the citation for the 4 pillars that I showed you earlier. That website is where you're going to find those. Go check it out. Go check out as much literature as you can about it. And I hope you all had a wonderful time with this video. I hope it was informative. I hope you learned some stuff. And with that, I'm going to bid you adieu. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day. Goodbye now.